All right, so you're prepping for an import-export manager interview in the electrical household appliance industry. That's quite a mouthful, but it's a really exciting field. We're going to help you nail this interview using these awesome RoleCatcher resources they've given us, a career guide, an interview guide, and even some info about their AI platform.
What I find so fascinating about this role is the sheer global scale of it. We're not just talking about moving toasters and blenders across borders. It's
Yeah.
really more about orchestrating this whole symphony of logistics and regulations
Right.
and relationships that can span entire
Okay,
continents.
I love that symphony analogy, but let's unpack that a little bit. What does an import-export manager actually do day to day?
Imagine you're the conductor,
Right.
and you're making sure that all of these appliances are moving seamlessly, from the factory to the consumer, crossing borders with no hiccups along the way. It's a blend of strategy. You're planning the most efficient routes and methods of shipping. And then there's compliance. You have to make sure everything adheres to all these international trade laws and safety standards. And then, of course, there's the human element, building strong relationships with suppliers and distributors worldwide. That's absolutely key.
Sounds like a really unique mix of skills. No wonder the interview process can be so intense.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why this RoleCatcher interview guide is so valuable. They've actually given us 8 really common questions they asked, and we're going to break all of those down one by one, giving you strategies for not just answering them, but really impressing the interviewer.
I love that. Let's dive in. Question number 1. Can you tell us about your experience in managing import and export operations? Seems pretty straightforward, but what are they really looking for here?
This is really your chance to shine, to showcase your successes, but not in just a generic way. Think about the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. So instead of just saying, I manage shipments, describe a very specific project, the challenges you faced, the actions that you took, and the quantifiable results that you achieved. Maybe you streamlined a process and reduced shipping costs, or maybe you successfully navigated some really complex regulatory change.
Got it. So it's really about painting this vivid picture with concrete examples.
Precisely. And be prepared for follow-up questions. The guide mentions that they might ask something like, what's the biggest logistical hurdle you faced and how did you handle it? They really want to see your problem-solving skills in action.
Oh, that's a good one. And speaking of hurdles, the career guide emphasizes the importance of cultural sensitivity in this role. It even suggests researching cultural norms and etiquette before interacting with international partners.
Oh, that's such a crucial point. It's not just about business, it's about building genuine rapport and taking the time to understand these nuances. That can make a world of difference in negotiations and relationship building.
For sure. Okay, moving on to question 2. What is your understanding of import and export regulations, particularly in the electrical household appliances industry?
Hmm.
This is where it gets technical, right?
This is your time to shine as a compliance guru. You want to show off all your knowledge about things like tariffs. Those are taxes on imported goods, safety standards that are specific to electrical appliances, and any relevant trade agreements. The more specific you can be to the industry, the better.
So I wouldn't want to talk about food safety regulations if I'm dealing with toasters.
Exactly. And be ready for scenario-based questions like, imagine a new regulation impacts your product line. How would you adapt your processes? They're testing your ability to think critically and be proactive.
Oh, that's a tough one. Now, before we jump to the next question, let's touch on how RoleCatcher's AI can come in handy here. They have this really cool feature that analyzes job descriptions to identify the exact skills they're looking for, right?
Absolutely. And you can use that insight to tailor your answers and emphasize those specific skills. It's like having this secret weapon to make sure that you're hitting all the right notes.
Okay, I like that secret weapon analogy. On to question 3. How do you manage suppliers and distributors in the import and export process?
This is all about showcasing your collaborative skills. How do you build those strong, reliable relationships with partners across the globe? Think about things like clear communication, setting clear expectations, regular check-ins, and being proactive in resolving any issues that might arise.
The guide also suggests highlighting your experience in coordinating shipments, negotiating terms, and most importantly, resolving any conflicts that might come up.
It's a delicate balance because you're advocating for your company's interests while nurturing these really essential partnerships. A potential follow-up question here could be, tell me about a time a supplier let you down. How did you handle the situation? They're looking for your diplomacy and your problem-solving skills.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I bet RoleCatcher's AI can help with that too. I remember reading that it offers feedback on interview answers, helping you refine your delivery and the content.
It's like having a personal coach in your pocket. You can practice those tricky scenarios, get feedback, and fine-tune your responses until you're just radiating confidence.
Of that. Okay, question 4 is all about logistics. How do you ensure that shipments of electrical household appliances arrive at their destination in a timely and cost-effective manner?
All right, so here's where you get to discuss your strategies for optimizing that entire supply chain. Think about different transportation methods. Air, sea, rail. Choosing the right one based on cost, speed, and the type of product. Then there's customs clearance. Knowing the ins and outs can save you a ton of time and money. And then, of course, there's warehousing and distribution, making sure everything flows smoothly once those appliances reach their destination country.
The guide points out that interviewers are really looking for evidence of your cost consciousness and efficiency. Any tips on how to showcase those skills?
Have really concrete examples ready to go. Maybe you negotiated some really favorable shipping rates. Maybe you implemented a new tracking system that reduced delays. Or maybe you even found creative ways to consolidate shipments and minimize warehousing costs. The more specific, the better.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing RoleCatcher's AI can analyze those examples and provide feedback on how to present them really effectively.
Exactly. It can actually help you quantify your achievements, highlight the key takeaways, and even suggest ways to tailor your language so it resonates with the specific company culture.
I like that. Okay, let's tackle question 5. Can you tell us about a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a supplier or distributor? Conflict resolution, always a tricky one.
This is where you really demonstrate your ability to stay calm, professional, and solution-oriented. Choose an example where you successfully de-escalated a conflict, found common ground, and maintained that positive working relationship. Remember, it's not about placing blame, it's about finding that win-win solution.
Right. The guide advises focusing on the actions you took, the communication strategies you used, and the positive outcome you achieved.
And don't be afraid to highlight any lessons that you learned from the whole experience. It shows that you're reflective and committed to continuous improvement.
Okay, we're halfway through those interview questions. Feeling ready to tackle the next 3?
Absolutely. Let's keep diving in and equipping you with the insights and strategies to just ace this interview and launch yourself into this really exciting global career.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's move on to question number 6. How do you stay up to date with changes in the electrical household appliances industry? It might seem like a pretty simple question, but there's a lot you can unpack here.
Right. It's really about demonstrating that you're not just knowledgeable, but also that you're a continuous learner.
Yeah.
Someone who is passionate about this field and committed to staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. They want to see that you're proactively seeking out information, maybe attending industry events, reading all the trade publications, maybe even taking some online courses or getting certifications. It's about showing that you're invested in your own professional development.
And this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI can be such a game changer. It can actually recommend personalized learning paths based on your current skills and the specific requirements of the job that you're applying for.
Absolutely. It's like having a customized roadmap for your career, helping you identify the exact knowledge gaps you need to fill and suggesting resources to get you there.
Okay, on to question 7. Can you describe your experience in negotiating contracts with suppliers and distributors? This sounds like a pretty high-stakes skill, especially in a global industry where you're dealing with so many different languages and cultures and legal systems.
Oh, absolutely. Negotiation is an art form in this role. And it's about more than just getting the best price. You're building trust, finding mutually beneficial solutions, and creating these long-term partnerships that really benefit both parties.
The guide recommends highlighting your understanding of international contract law, your ability to navigate cultural differences, and your track record of securing those favorable terms for your company.
Right. Think about a specific example where you faced a challenging negotiation. Maybe there were language barriers, or cultural misunderstandings, or even conflicting priorities. How did you approach that situation? What strategies did you use to build rapport and overcome those obstacles and ultimately reach an agreement that everybody felt good about?
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you analyze those past negotiations, identify areas for improvement, and even suggest strategies for handling all those different cultural contexts.
It's like having this virtual mentor providing you with really personalized feedback and guidance to just refine your negotiation skills.
All right, let's tackle the 8th and final question. Can you describe a time when you had to deal with a shipment delay or other logistical issue?
This is a classic behavioral question. They're trying to see how you handle pressure and solve problems on the fly. Exactly. So choose a situation where you faced a significant logistical challenge. Maybe a shipment was delayed because of weather, or a supplier had production issues, or there were these unexpected customs holdups, and walk them through the steps you took to assess the situation, communicate with all the stakeholders, and find creative solutions to minimize the impact of that disruption.
The guide suggests focusing on your initiative, your resourcefulness, and your really effective communication skills. Did you think outside the box? Did you go above and beyond to keep everyone informed and find those alternative solutions?
And remember, even if the outcome wasn't perfect, focus on what you learned from the experience and how you've applied those lessons to prevent similar issues from happening again in the future.
That's great advice. Okay, so we spent a lot of time on these interview questions, but let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the bigger picture. The career guide provides some really valuable insights into the growth potential and long-term trajectory of this role.
Yeah, what's really fascinating is that this isn't just a job. It's a gateway to so many different possibilities. You could specialize in a particular product category. You could move into a regional or global management role. You could even become a consultant, advising companies on their international trade strategies.
It really does sound like a world of possibilities. The guide emphasizes the importance of continuous learning networking and staying ahead of all those industry trends. And it even mentions a potential for international travel, which is a huge perk for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. Imagine jetting off to meet suppliers in Asia, attending industry conferences in Europe, or even overseeing operations in South America. It's a career that can really take you places, literally.
I love that. And RoleCatcher's AI can help you map out that journey by providing personalized recommendations for professional development opportunities, networking events, and even language learning resources.
It's like having this personalized career navigator, guiding you towards the skills and connections you need to reach your full potential.
Okay, so let's circle back to those interview questions for a minute and talk about how you can use RoleCatcher's AI to not just answer them, but really just knock them out of the park.
Their AI platform actually allows you to practice your answers in a realistic interview setting and get feedback on your content, your delivery, and even your body language. It's like having a virtual mock interview with this panel of experts.
That's such a cool feature.
Yeah.
And you can tailor your practice sessions to the specific company and job role you're applying for, so you can ensure that your responses are aligned with their values and expectations.
It's really about maximizing your chances of success by using technology to really fine-tune your skills and present your best self.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today, from the nitty-gritty of those interview questions to the broader career landscape. But there's one really crucial aspect we haven't touched on yet, and that's the ethical considerations of international trade.
That's a topic that deserves its own deep dive for sure, and it's something that every aspiring import-export manager needs to be aware of.
Absolutely. We'll be right back to explore those ethical considerations in more detail and discuss how you can navigate the complexities of global trade with integrity and responsibility. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've talked about nailing those interview questions and even got a glimpse of that exciting career path ahead. But now let's dive into the heart of what makes this field so fascinating, the ethical side of global trade.
Yeah, it's something every aspiring import-export manager really needs to grapple with. We're talking about decisions that can impact people and the planet, from fair labor practices to environmental sustainability.
Right. It's not just about moving goods. It's about doing it responsibly. The guide mentions things like ensuring safe working conditions in factories, sourcing materials ethically, and minimizing that environmental impact of shipping.
And it's about being aware of potential challenges, too, like navigating countries that have very different labor laws, or really understanding the carbon footprint of all those different transportation methods.
So it's a lot to consider, but it sounds like these ethical considerations are becoming more and more important in the industry.
Oh, absolutely. Consumers are demanding greater transparency, and companies are realizing that ethical practices aren't just good for the world, they're good for business, too.
Okay, so let's connect this back to the interview for a second. How can our listener demonstrate their awareness of these ethical aspects during the conversation?
It's about showing the interviewer that you're not just focused on profits, but that you're a conscientious professional who really cares about the bigger picture. You could mention your commitment to ethical sourcing, or your knowledge of any relevant certifications like fair trade, or even your experience working with suppliers who prioritize sustainability.
Right. It's about aligning your own values with the company's values and showing that you're going to be an advocate for those responsible practices.
Exactly. And it's a real chance to stand out from other candidates who might not be as attuned to all of these issues.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's touch on something you mentioned earlier, The idea of this role being a gateway to all these different possibilities, the career guide really does paint this exciting picture of growth potential.
Yeah, and what's so cool is that you can really tailor your path based on what interests you. Maybe you become a specialist in a particular product category, like smart home appliances or something.
Hmm.
Or you move into a regional or even a global management role, overseeing operations across continents. You could even become a consultant advising companies on their international trade strategies.
Wow. The possibilities really are endless. It sounds like the skills you develop in this role are incredibly transferable.
Absolutely. You're gaining expertise in logistics, negotiation, compliance, cultural awareness, all skills that are so highly valued in today's globalized world.
And like we mentioned before, RoleCatcher's AI can be a valuable companion throughout this whole journey, helping you identify those growth opportunities, develop the necessary skills, and even connect with the right people.
It's all about using technology to empower your human potential and really achieve all of your career aspirations.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From acing that interview to navigating that ethical landscape of global trade, we hope you're feeling energized and ready to take on the world of import-export management.
It's a dynamic field full of challenges and rewards. Embrace that complexity, stay curious, and never stop learning.
And if you ever need a boost of insights or even just a dose of career inspiration, you know where to find us. Until next time, keep diving deep.